When it comes to spending money, one of my favorite mantras is you can afford anything, but not everything. And when I say afford, I'm not just talking about a number on a price tag, because some things aren't worth the cost to me in other ways. Because money isn't just money, right? Money is time, it's energy, and it can buy us things like peace of mind and the freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it. So adopting the minimalist habit of saying no to things that aren't essential or important to me has led me to a much happier, better, and richer life. And that's why today we're getting personal about personal finance, and I'm sharing this list of 9 things I refuse to spend my money on as a minimalist. Let's dive in. Number 1 on this list is all-you-can-eat buffets. When I was growing up, my family loved to go to all-you-can-eat buffets to stuff ourselves as full as we could to quote-unquote get our money's worth. And don't get me wrong, food is still one of my absolute favorite things to spend my money on, but since becoming a minimalist, I never go to all-you-can-eat buffets anymore, and there are several reasons for this. Number 1 is that it's just not healthy for human beings to consume such a large volume of food at once. And number 2 is that it's typically really unhealthy food as well. Of course, we would always start with that token plate of salad right at the beginning to pretend like we were interested in eating healthy. But then after that, it was a nonstop feeding frenzy of carbs, fried foods, and sweets. And then over time, I started to notice how these all-you-can-eat buffets would kind of trigger this feeling of anxiety and panic inside of me. And it wasn't until I started my journey to declutter the 30 years of stuff that I'd been hoarding after the loss of my family and my childhood home that I began to realize just how much all-you-can-eat buffets have in common with the psychology of hoarding that runs in my family. Like I said, this idea of getting your money's worth and cramming as much as you can fit into your stomach. And how all-you-can-eat buffets encourage overconsumption by playing on our scarcity mindset with an overabundance that can trigger this hoarding mentality. So while I still love going out to eat here and there, now I choose restaurants based on quality versus quantity and avoid all-you-can-eat buffets. Next up on this list, we have food delivery services. This is a habit I adopted in college to save money, and nowadays I either make food at home that's really good quality and saves me more money, or if I feel like going out to eat with my family for the occasional treat, we'll go to a restaurant instead of ordering food to be delivered to us at home. Basically, we look at it as a chance to not only eat good food, but also share a fun experience together and try different kinds of cuisine and whatnot. And I don't think people realize just how much food delivery services and apps are inflating the cost of their takeout. But when you dive into the numbers, food delivery services like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Postmates can end up costing you a whopping 92% more than if you ate that same meal in-house or picked up your coffee or treats yourself. And even if you order from a place like Papa John's Pizza, for example, you're still expected to tip on top of that order. At least that's the expectation in the USA. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on tipping and what the tipping culture is like where you live. So please be sure and drop me a comment below and share what country or area you live in and what kinds of thoughts and experiences that you've had towards tipping. Call me a basic American, but I still personally believe in tipping well if the service is good. And speaking of which, if you're enjoying this video or finding it helpful, I would love it if you would give me a tip for the low price of $3.99 by hitting the like button or going down and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I truly appreciate it, and it helps me not only grow my channel, but also to continue to make free videos like this to help you and others out there who want to simplify their life and save money. I do so appreciate all of your likes, comments, and support. Now on to the next point. Number 3 on this list is gifts for my husband, and along with that, my husband also doesn't get gifts for me. And I know that this one is always really controversial when I mention it in my videos. We're happy to give gifts to our children for birthdays and for Christmas, and we're always generous with other people, especially family members. I know I've talked about my mother-in-law before, and you guys met her when I did my video on the 8 Asian habits that changed my life. when she was showing us how to roll dumplings by hand. And I know I've talked about in the past how she's a very energetic and active person. So during the pandemic, when she wasn't able to safely get out and get exercise, we got an elliptical for her so that she would still be able to get enough exercise while staying at home and staying safe. So while my husband and I are really happy to give thoughtful and meaningful gifts to other people, we've just learned that we like to express our feelings to each other in other ways. Number 4 on this list is sad beige clothing for my kids. This is another criticism that I see a lot on social media, particularly on Instagram, where there's an entire genre of accounts devoted to exploring this trend that they call sad beige and sad beige clothing, sad beige moms, sad beige children. I'm not gonna lie, I actually find it pretty funny as a minimalist. There's this one account that they use this exaggerated German accent and talks about like Werner Herzog sad beige clothes for sad beige children.
Welcome to Werner Herzog's new line of children's clothing, sad beige clothes for sad beige children. I call this one the potato famine did not spark even a little joy.
But I would never criticize anyone for the color choices that they make for their children, sad beige or otherwise. For me personally, as a minimalist, I don't stick to this aesthetic with my kids, and I let my kids pick whatever darn clothes they want to wear. I personally do not like the color red. Like, I don't have any red anywhere in my house, but red happens to be my youngest son Diti's favorite color. So he has red glasses, red shirts. His brother also loves to wear bright red and orange, and I have absolutely no problem with this because they should be able to pick and wear whatever clothes they want to wear. So as a minimalist, I refuse to spend money on clothes that are based on my aesthetic, and I give my kids independence to buy what they want to buy and wear what they want to wear. Another thing that I stopped spending my money on a long time ago is nail salons or beauty salons. And the last time that I got my nails done was, I think I got a manicure for my wedding. And since then, I've just been au naturel with the nails. Literally, all I do is clip my nails and that's it. And as far as things like pedicures, I never really enjoyed having people touch my feet anyway. I know that some people love to go get pedicures for like a treat yourself thing, but for me, that just wasn't an enjoyable experience. And the same thing goes for massages. Like, I just don't really like having people touch my body and my back, and I'm very stiff and I could probably use some massages, but it's just not an enjoyable experience for me, and therefore I don't like spending my money on it. Number 6 on this list is cable TV. Many years ago, I realized that we weren't watching 99% of the channels that we were paying for when we had cable TV. And not only that, the commercials are just way too long. So instead, what we have now is streaming services that allow us to pick and choose what we want to watch when we want to watch it. But then on the other hand, when it comes to number 7 on this list, I actually go in the opposite direction because I refuse to spend money on most apps that require a subscription. I would rather listen to ads on Spotify than I would to pay for Spotify Premium and get no ads, because I found that when it's just something like Spotify or YouTube, I can just tune out the ads and they don't bother me at all, compared to watching commercials on cable TV that bother me a lot. Nowadays, it seems like almost every website and app and program is trying to move to a subscription-based model, and if you're not careful, you can really end up racking up a large bill at the end of every month just being subscribed to all these places. So it's a good idea to run an audit of your paid apps and subscriptions every once in a while, just to make sure you're not overpaying for stuff that you don't enjoy or that you're not really using. Next up, for number 8, we have live concerts. I know that a lot of people love going to concerts, but it's just not for me. Even when I was in my teens and early 20s, I already knew I hated going to concerts, so I've only been to 2 concerts in my entire lifetime, all 41 years of it. Between the lights and the noise and the sensory overload of being surrounded by a bunch of hyped up strangers, concerts are just not my idea of a good time. And the ninth thing I refuse to spend my money on is interest or late fees. Like I said, I used to be a hoarder, and back then not only was my home a hot mess, but my finances were too. Finance guru Suze Orman has been quoted as saying that if you have debt, I'm willing to bet that clutter is also a problem for you. And I guess when you think about it, it's really not that surprising that disorganized people would have disorganized finances. And before I got my life in order, I would do things like, just toss the mail onto the countertop where there's literally piles of stuff everywhere. And then I would forget to pay my bills on time, which would end up with me racking up expensive late fees that were basically just like me throwing my money in the toilet. And I know so many people who turned to minimalism because they struggled with shopping addiction and ended up getting themselves into massive credit card debt, buying a bunch of crap they didn't even want or need. So part of my minimalism journey was decluttering my finances as well as my home. And now, although I do have credit cards, I never buy anything that I can't afford to pay off at the end of each billing cycle. And if you're interested to find out more about how I budget as a minimalist and some of the tips and ideas that helped my husband and I eliminate $250,000 worth of debt, make sure to go check out this video, or I'll see you next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.